Hey everybody, in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to start your product parts in Onshape for the reverse engineering project. So in the objective, you can see here that we'll be using Onshape to CAD each of the disassembled parts using the dimensions we created on our product dimensions activity, and then name those parts based on what we named them on the product disassembly chart. So the first thing you need to do is to log into Onshape. And we are going to create a new document and then name that document reverse engineering and then whatever your product name is. So if it's mechanical pencil or a toy or a spray bottle, that's what you're going to want to name it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hit create. I'm going to select document, and then I'm going to name it reverse engineering. And I'm going to call it toy example. And I'm going to click OK. Let that load. Okay, now we are going to start just like we've done as usual, and we are going to need to pick a work plane and then start adding a sketch. So let's look back at our directions. And so step number 3 is a generalized direction, because I'm not going to model for you how to build the parts per se, because everybody's parts are different. So what I want you to do is to start modeling your first part by choosing a work plane, adding a sketch with accurate dimensions, and then adding a feature to make the part solid. So now what you need to do is, based on what you drew on your sketches, so hopefully you can see my webcam here, and you can notice that I have 2 parts drawn and I've labeled them right here, okay? Part 1, and I called this one the square peg, and then this is part 2. All right, this is the circle peg, and I've added some dimensions. So I drew these in isometric view, and then I dimensioned them based on our dimensions of dimension to the nearest 16th of an inch. So notice the base is 1 inch by 1 inch, and then the height is 3 7/16. So that is what I am going to want to build my part to start. And then I'm going to name it square peg. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start to do on my for my first part on my CAD. Okay, in my Onshape. All right, so let's go ahead and start to do that. Now, again, it doesn't matter which work plane you start with, nor does it matter which part you start with. You can start with your easy parts or your more difficult parts, whichever one you're most comfortable with. I'm going to go ahead and choose the top work plane, and then I'm going to start a sketch. And I'm going to build my square peg first, so I'm going to use center point rectangle. So again, I'm going to do this quickly because I know this is not your part, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea and then show you how to name the parts and then start the second part. So I'm going to build my rectangle, and I'm going to put it on the origin point, drag it out, and then I'm going to dimension. And based on my dimensions that I recorded on my product dimensions activity, I am going to make each side 1 inch. Okay, and I am going to finish the sketch. I'm going to go back to isometric view. And so now I have a square in a sketch mode, but notice I still have no parts, okay? So all of my parts are going to be listed here once I'm finished building my, my parts for my product. But in order to get parts to be listed, what you're going to need to do is add a feature to your sketch. So it could be an extrude, it could be a revolve, it could be a loft, it could be a sweep, any of the ones we've previously learned to help you build the part. Whichever is going to be the best way for you to build the part, that's the one you're going to select. So for mine, I'm going to pick extrude. And I am going to select solid, and I want it to be new because that will be sure that I'm going to add that part. Now watch, as soon as I click the surface, okay, and it went ahead and defaulted, okay, to my 1 inch depth, okay, it created a part 1. So down on the left-hand side here, notice now I have part 1, okay, and we're going to rename that here in a minute. But first I want to get the correct dimension. So now what I remember from my drawing is I have a height of 3 7/16 inches. So now watch, if I type in 3 space 7 16/16 and hit enter, that's not going to work. Okay, so I can't put that in. So what I need to do is use a calculator to then convert that to a decimal fraction. So now if you have a decimal like I did of 7/16, what you can do is, you can use the calculator app on your phone, or you can pull it up on your computer. So you're just going to hit 7 divided by 16 equals, and you're going to get 0.4375. So now when I type this in on my depth dimension here, 3.4375, and hit enter, now I have the correct dimension. And so once I've built my part to its completion, then I'm going to go ahead and select the green check mark. And now I'm ready to start to rename the part. So back on the directions, you'll see here on the bottom of the features bar, rename each part to match what you named it on the product disassembly chart. So in order to do that, what we're going to have to do is we're going to right click on the part. We're going to click rename. And then we're going to call it what we named it, which was square peg. And then we click in the white space, or you can hit enter, and now it's named correctly. The next direction says, if you want to edit the color of the green part, or of the part, right click on the part and select edit appearance, select the color you want and click on the green checkbox. So now to edit the color, again, what you're going to do is right click on the part, select edit appearance, and then choose whatever color you want. So for this one, let's say I wanted it to be blue. I would select that and then hit the green check mark. And now I have the color that I want. Last direction says you're going to click on the eye icon to hide the part created, then start the next part by restarting step number 3. So in order to build my next part, what I'm going to have to do is, again, go over to my square peg, and there you can see the little eye when I hover over it. So I'm going to click on that. And then it kind of goes away on my graphics window here. So now I'm ready to start my next part. So again, what I'm going to do is, if I wanted to build the circle peg, I would start another sketch and then pick whichever work plane I needed and go ahead and choose circle. Move it to top view. Okay, make the diameter again. All right, finish the sketch again. Hit isometric view. Okay, then we extrude. So let's say the height again was 3 inches this time. And when I do that, now I have part 2, okay? And again, I'm going to follow the same exact steps. I'm going to finish that, rename it, and then go ahead and give it a color, and then I will have it all, I'll have my second part. So now you can see now I have a square peg that's hidden and my circle peg, which is the active, and I can always hide that. And if I wanted to edit my square peg, then I would go ahead and reopen it, and then right click on the square peg, select edit. Okay, so, I'm sorry, go ahead and open it. And then now you have to go back to on your features bar list and find the sketch or the extrusion that you want to edit. So if I wanted to edit the height of the square peg, I would right click on extrude 1, select edit, and then I could change it to, let's say, 3.5 inches instead of the 3.4375 that I had before. And then I could do that and then hit the check mark. It didn't visually change too much, but I changed it a little bit to make it 3.5 inches tall. So I went back and edited it. So you can always do that for any one of the parts that you're creating. So that's how you're going to start your Onshape product parts and then build each part. The last direction here states, do not start a new document. All parts will be created on one document. So as I've shown you here, all the parts will be listed down here, and this is where you're going to create all the parts, and you're going to continue using the same document for all the exercises and all the parts dimensions, assembly, everything is going to end up on this one document here. And then again, you will go ahead and submit the assignment as you've done in the past. If you have any questions, please let me know.